Second special city council meeting. I am Jim Nash. I am the city council president, and I will be presiding this evening. Before we begin, I want to let everyone know that this meeting and all participating on Zoom will be audio and video recorded. I now call the city council to order. Laura, will you please call the roll?
Councillor Elkins.
Here.
Councillor Foster. Not present. Councillor Gore.
Here.
Councillor Jarrett.
Here.
Councillor Labarge.
Here.
Councillor Maori. We know she'd notified us that she'd be absent. Councillor Moulton.
Here.
Councillor Nash.
Here.
And Councillor Perry.
Here.
Council President, you have a quorum.
Okay, great. Is there anybody here who'd like to speak for public comment? If you could do so by raising your virtual hand, you can find that down on the reactions button, down on the bottom of your Zoom screen. And we'll give people a moment to see if they'd like to queue up for public comment. The reactions button is at the bottom of your screen. If you hover over the bottom of the screen, you will see the menu bar appear. Okay, I'll give it a second or two more. Oh, I see Kim. Right. Anybody else? Okay, I'm not going to do my usual preamble. Kim, I'm gonna and anybody else who wants to raise their hand once we start public comment, we allow 2 minutes, and at the end of 2 minutes, I will let you know your time is up and gently nudge you to complete whatever sentence you're making, and then we'll move on to the next person. So, Kim, I am going to, let's see if I can unmute you. There we go. All right, Kim, I've asked you to unmute, see if you can.
Is that okay?
There you are, Kim.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Welcome to City Council. You have the 2 minutes and you have the floor.
Okay. I just heard the very back end of an announcement today from WHMP that you're going to talk about a tax increase tonight. Is that correct? Is that correct?
So during public comment, we listen to what you have to say and we don't respond. But yes, it is on the agenda.
Thank you. So that's what I'm interested in responding to tonight. And I just want to say that I'm very concerned about the increase in taxes. I think I heard on the radio would be $400 per property owner. And I know that people who live in moderate income or low income, who are owners, who are low income or moderate income, would have a very difficult time, especially seniors. And of course, I know we have a senior tax write-off program, but does this mean also that the number of hours or the rate for the senior tax write-off program would increase to accommodate the increases in property tax? That's something to take into consideration tonight. Also, just concerned about pushing people who are not wealthy out of town, whether you be middle-aged or young or older. Everybody contributes to the culture of this community, and pushing us out by increasing our taxes is going to create a sterilized wealth culture. And I'm very concerned about that. It happens in other towns. Do we have to let it happen here also? What can you do? Can you think about some alternatives to tonight and in future meetings to come up with some other ideas on how to protect people who are of various income levels and are property owners so that they can continue to live in town. I think that there are many, many contributions other people who are not wealthy make to this city. And I'd like to see that recognized in some kind of a alternative tax program beyond what we currently have. Thank you.
Kim. Thank you, Kim. And Kim, your full name and
Kimberly Lambert, and I'm a homeowner. I also participated in home ownership, low-income home ownership program back in the late 80s. And if the city hadn't offered that, I wouldn't own my home. I live on Pines Edge Drive, and you may formerly know me as an advocate against the Moose Lodge on Cook Ave.
thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else here for public comment? I'll give it one quick moment. Okay. Seeing no more hands, we now move on. Hello?
Hi, sorry, April Goodgen. I'm trying to figure out the Zoom. I'm new to this
Oh.
Zoom.
Okay, April. Yeah, I didn't see your hand raised, but
I
April-
know, I apologize.
that's fine. So you have 2 minutes to make a public comment. So go ahead, introduce yourself again, April.
My name is April Goodgen and I live in Leeds and I'm a taxpayer. I'm actually a 5th generation small business owner and real estate taxpayer here in the city of Northampton. My husband and I currently own some businesses and properties here in town. One of my main concerns is what the other public speaker just brought up. The other taxpayer was about senior citizens. I know my mother is in her late 80s, so she's lived here her entire life, and you know, in her late 80s, she cannot volunteer for the discount for her taxes. So that unfortunately goes against her. So number one, this increase we're talking about would cause her to probably have to put her house up for sale. This is the last time that she's going to be able to have to handle this. I took a picture of her water bill. With all the increases that we've had in this city, with all the additional fees, my mother's water bill this quarter was $138. Out of $138, my 87-year-old mother used $22 worth of water. That's it. She's literally not flushing her toilet as many times during the day to save on the water. But because of all of the fees that we've continued to add, it's added a massive stress to all the senior citizens that are homeowners, taxpayers here in the city. And also, you know, just the taxpayers in general in the city. Now, we gave up a decision that was not given as a vote for the taxpayers of Northampton. All of the additional tax revenue for all of the cannabis shops, that was never considered as a vote for the taxpayers to decide that it was going to be given up. That's over $1 million, I believe, a year. And yet that money could have been used. Instead, this is what's happening is, again, it's going on the backs of the taxpayers of Northampton. And, you know, we can't afford it. It's getting to the point where it's forcing people out of Northampton. They're selling their homes and businesses are closing.
Thank you, April.
You're welcome, Jim.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak during public comment? I see Jonathan Brody's hand raised. Welcome, Jonathan.
Hey, thanks, Jim. Thank you, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. We just read about this in the paper, Paige and I, and so we're just kind of jumping in. So we haven't totally formulated our thoughts, but and we're not super well informed, but we may have an experience that's maybe helpful, which is when we went to refinance our home about a year or so ago, we noticed that the assessed value of our house was extraordinarily low. Despite pulling permits for all the work we had done over the years to, increase the square footage of the house, increase the quality and, theoretically the value of the house. And, our goal was to basically increase, the assessment of the house to borrow as much money we could against the house. And it kind of dawned on us that kind of through that process, learning how low the house was assessed for, given all the improvements, and thinking about all the other homes in Northampton that had been improved, and maybe that their assessments hadn't been increased, the significant amount of tax dollar loss that constitutes. And so, again, we're a little bit ill-informed exactly what you all are looking at in regards to the new tax rate. But I think if there's a conversation about increasing the tax rate, the percentage people pay on their values of their homes, that I think part of that conversation needs to be kind of an assessment of the assessments.
Well, what kind of system is in place to make sure that when people are pulling permits, increasing the value of their homes, that there is a kind of a streamlined workflow to make sure that those permits are being looked at and assessed, and there's like clear channels to the tax assessor's office to make sure that, even without changing the rates, that people are paying the taxes that they should be. We found out that we certainly were not. And, we've got school-aged kids, and we're like, wait a minute, how much money is the city and the schools missing out on just because we're not actually assessing people's houses properly? And we know that just like us, there are a lot of young families that have bought houses in Northampton and put a lot of money and effort into renovating them. But are we really the only people that had this problem where our tax assessment was extremely low for years? So that was our 2 cents about making sure that doesn't get swept under the rug either.
So thank you, Paige and Jonathan Brody.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Overlapped. You used 2 minutes, and then you got an additional 2 minutes.
Oh, well, thank you.
You actually have another minute if you'd like to share anything more.
No, thank you.
Just how synchronous our marriage is. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay, thank you. And Kim, I see you're raised. Have you raised your hand again? We only accept public comment once during council.
Yes, I'll take their minute, and I didn't get to use my full 2 minutes.
Yes, you had about 2.5 minutes, Kim.
Yes.
So,
Why don't you just give me a few more seconds?
it's against the council rules, and we would
All
have
right.
to do a vote. So
That's a bit stingy since there's only 3 people here today.
So, Kim, you're welcome to call your counselors and reach out to us via email, phone call. We all enjoy talking to constituents. So, thank you. All right, let's turn this. All right. Jonathan's hand is still raised. Let's lower hand.
Sorry, I'll unraise it.
Okay. All right. Any more? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody else raising their hands for public comment. Next up on the agenda is item 22.198, appointments to elected officials compensation advisory board. These candidates for appointment were just sent to council about 15 minutes ago from Community Resources. The names that are being presented tonight are Tara Brewster, Felicia Corbell, Peter Whalen, Sam Hopper, John Holloway Bidwell, Javier Luengo Garrido, and Noreen Mikowitz Hayes.
Counselor Nash,
Yes,
correction, you said community resource and it's city service.
city services, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, city services should get the credit for doing their work. Okay, so these names are here tonight for us to approve. Can I get a motion?
Make a motion that we approve as a group, the elected officials compensation advisory board.
Second.
Positive record.
Okay. Motion made by Counselor Labarge and seconded by Counselor Elkins for approval of these names for the Compensation Advisory Board. Any discussion? Hearing none. Laura, roll call, please.
Counselor Elkins,
Yes.
Counselor Gore,
Yes.
Counselor Jarrett,
Yes.
Counselor Labarge,
Yes,
Counselor Moulton,
Yes.
Counselor Nash,
Yes.
and Counselor Perry.
Yes.
Okay. Those folks have been approved by council for appointment. All right, next up is item 22.189, in order to establish a tax classification for fiscal year 2023. And that is for, this was on the, we held a hearing at the November 3rd meeting. At that meeting, this item was referred to the consent agenda for our meeting, which was scheduled for last Thursday, that got canceled due to posting issues having to do with the website being down. And this is possibly the main reason we're having this meeting tonight, so we can get this this approved. What is before us is to approve a tax factor of 1 between commercial and residential. And I think a little explanation would be in order tonight, based on the public comment that we've received. And I'm wondering if the mayor or Director Nardi or Mark would like to say a few words to address some of the questions that were raised during public comment. Oh, does the mayor need to be asked to unmute?
she's not here.
There she is.
Yes, okay.
I just could not unmute. I will pass it over to the real experts on this, but I just want to clarify again that, we are, what you have on your agenda is not the tax rate, right? It's the classification, how it's divided, right? So, and just to, we talked about this at the last meeting, but actually the tax rate went down this year. But some assessments went up. So that is, I think, what some of the confusion is. But again, I'm very happy to pass it over to Finance Director Nardi or Mark Dotrell as well.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
You have the floor, Mark.
I'll start with what Kim said. So we are not, or the city council is not voting on a tax increase. There's not, it's just voting on whether to keep a single rate or a split rate.
That's right.
And let's see, also, I know the woman April had a question. I just wanted to say, if she's listening, talk to my office, the assessor's office, about senior tax exemptions. Maybe we could help her mother out. And as far as Jonathan goes, as far as there are building permits that have not been inspected, or you feel your home is either undervalued or overvalued, please call the tax assessor. Please call the assessor's office, 8:30 to 4:30. Now, is there any specifics on this that you have questions on exactly?
Councilor Labarge.
Thank you. Mark, I want to thank you dearly for spending quite a bit of time with me this morning of concerns from a couple of residents. And we know that we're looking at the classification, but I think the article in the Gazette really caused quite a bit of confusion to residents. And you did work with me very closely with my resident, but we're still hearing, and I'm still hearing the confusion going on about the assessed values and also the real estate taxes. So hopefully that this will be straightened out with the communication, which I think it has, And I want to thank you for doing such a great job explaining it very thoroughly. And I know she said she was going to come on Zooming tonight, but I think she's understanding now exactly what you had to state to her. But the language, I think, was confusing here of what was occurring. As of, we're voting on the classification part of it. And people right away are jumping and saying, how can we raise our taxes? We're hearing it from residents tonight also, and that's not the issues why we're here tonight. So I want to thank you for everything that you have done today. You spent some time with me and my resident going back and forth and another resident. I think they understand about the laws and what has to be done with our assessors. So thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. Appreciate it.
Councilor Jarrett.
Yeah, I wanted to refer people to the hearing. If people have questions, I think a lot was explained about the assessment process, about the tax process in the public hearing that we did on November 3rd, including some of the regular process of assessment where, you know, the city goes out and reassesses every property to try to bring that in line. So that I would suggest looking for that. You can go to the Northampton Open Media Government Video Archive.
Thank you, Councilor Jarrett. Any other questions? Well, actually, Mayor, could I have a few questions that may help clarify things here. So Mark was explaining that tonight, what's before us is to approve the factor of one. We're not creating a special, if we approve this, we are not creating a special rate for commercial properties. Commercial properties will be assessed at the same rate that that residential properties are assessed, and that's what's before us, correct?
Right.
Oh, I'm like it. I like it when the mayor can talk back. Let's see. Go ahead, Mayor. Hold it. All right. Hello.
Hi. Oh, now I'm a co-host, so I should be able to unmute. You are correct. Yes. So the recommendation was that we keep a single tax rate, or also called a factor of one, meaning same tax rate for residential and for commercial.
Okay. And that tonight the way we are setting tax rates has to do with that if we're keeping everything the same between commercial and residential, we are setting a rate between those two that's going to be the same. We're not setting it so that they're unequal.
That's correct. And again, I actually don't have it in front of me, so maybe if you could unmute Director Nardi. Our rate this year is about $2 less than it was last year. But it's the same for both residential and commercial.
$2.05 less than last year.
And just to clarify, council's role in setting the levy, we don't set the levy. It's the mayor's office that sets the levy based on the budget that we approve, correct?
I'm going to let Director Nardi is great at explaining this.
Yes, that is correct. The council's role this evening is to determine whether we'll have a single tax rate, as you explained, just one tax rate, or a split level tax rate. That's what your role is tonight. The mayor, and through the budget process, the levy is established.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So in terms of any increases, the increases would track back to the budget that we approve every year in June. That's
Oh, yes. So the budget that's voted in June, if there's increases in the budget, then the city must raise that money in some form, whether it be in taxes or increased revenue, from using revenues, local revenues, or from getting increased revenues from the state. Those are our three options for revenues.
all right. Thank you. All right. So I just wanted to lay it out as clearly as I could, because I felt the story in the Gazette was mostly accurate, but it left things appearing to be that we were this evening voting on a tax increase across the city, and that the rate we are approving the balance between residential and commercial, which sets a rate, but that what that rate actually is tracks back to the budget that we approved back in June.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to have that clear for folks out there. And that Councilor Moulton.
Thank you. Just to build on Councilor Jarrett's suggestion to go back to the hearing on November 3rd, to underscore that one of the things that was said during that hearing is that the mayor's office chose not to tax to the limit this year. And had that the tax levy gone to the limit, it would have increased, the average increase would have been roughly 1 percentage point more. So there has been, I believe, some sense that we can't, we have to be cognizant of the impact of what is essentially going to be a tax increase for many people on their ability to stay in their homes.
Thank you, Councilor.
Yes.
Any more questions or discussion? Okay, this is, we do not have a motion on the floor for this. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the classification of 1.
Second it.
Okay, motion made by Councilor Moulton, seconded by Councilor Labarge. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Laura, roll call, please.
Councilor Gore. Yes. Councilor Jarrett,
Yes.
Councilor Labarge,
Yes.
Councilor Moulton,
Yes.
Councilor Nash,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
and Councilor Elkins.
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. And that is the only other thing on our agenda other than adjournment. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Councilor Elkins, seconded by Councilor Jarrett. There's no discussion on adjournment. Laura, roll calls, please.
Counselor Jarrett,
Yes.
Counselor Labarge,
Yes.
Counselor Moulton,
Yes.
Counselor Nash,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Elkins,
Yes.
and Counselor Gore.
Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for showing up tonight on short notice. Everybody have a great holiday.
Happy
Thank you,
holidays, everybody.
Everyone. Oh, look at the dog.
Oh,
Hey.
good night, Alex.
Bye.